Welcome back to the Explainer, everyone. Today, we are conducting a really comprehensive diagnostic checkup. We're going to put Chung Shan Medical University, or CSMU, right under the microscope. We want to diagnose the true health of its admissions popularity, cutting through the noise and looking at the raw data to see exactly where this institution is absolutely thriving and where, frankly, it's showing some pretty concerning symptoms. Now, as you might know, this is actually our 30th explainer in this analytical series. Over our previous 29 deep dives, we've benchmarked the admissions trends of a wide array of institutions. We've looked at top-tier heavyweights like National Taiwan University, NCCU, NYCU, and NCKU, and we've mapped out mid-tier and private universities like Soochow, Tamkang, and China Medical University. In this broader landscape, CSMU sits squarely in a highly competitive mid-tier position. So today, we're going to benchmark CSMU directly against these 30 peer universities to figure out its true relative standing. Here is our roadmap for today. First, measuring popularity. Second, core medical and dental. Third, medical tech and sciences. Fourth, basic health and nursing. Fifth, management and applied. And finally, number 6, macro variables. Okay, let's dive into this with Section 1, measuring popularity, the vitals. Before we get into the actual results, we need to talk about how we define popularity without letting the data lie to us. You know, we have to take the university's vitals accurately. So we use a very specific popularity index. It considers 2 things. First, the choice rate. That's the percentage of eligible students who actually put a department on their preference list. And second, the inverse rank. Keep in mind here, a lower rank number means it's much harder to get into. We take the choice rate, multiply it by the inverse rank, and then find the square root, which gives us a geometric mean. This specific formula is absolutely crucial because it prevents skewed data and gives us a highly objective picture of real student demand across the country. Let's move on to Section 2, core medical and dental, the powerhouses. When we look at these traditional powerhouses, the data reveals a truly shocking divergence. Dentistry at CSMU is booming. Its popularity index shot up by a margin of 0.0030, ranking it 24th nationally in positive momentum. Why is that? Well, high-scoring students are increasingly prioritizing lifestyle. Dentistry lets you bypass the grueling medical residency and the high risks of medical disputes, plus it offers a massive lucrative private market in things like implants and orthodontics. But on the flip side, medicine is experiencing a genuinely alarming decline. This brings us to a crucial number, -0.00688. That represents the popularity change for CSMU's medicine department, and it lands them at a dismal 1120th place in terms of momentum. We really can't pretend this isn't happening or sugarcoat it. Objectively speaking, CSMU's medicine department is actively lagging behind its direct private peers. We're talking about falling behind Chenggang Taipei Medical University, China Medical University, and Kaohsiung Medical University, not to mention National Chengkang University. Its brand pull in the ultra-competitive medical sector is currently shrinking, plain and simple. All right, Section 3, medical tech and sciences, the mid-tier performers. Shifting our focus to the allied health and technology departments, which really form the functional backbone of the university, the data brilliantly illustrates how these specific departments measure up. Physical therapy is solid, though it does lag behind Chenggang and CMU, while closely matching Kaohsiung Medical University. Speech and hearing, however, is a major standout. CSMU is a real pioneer here, and its speech therapy division holds strong brand leadership. Occupational therapy is also doing quite well, actively beating out competitors like Fujin Catholic University. To complete our tech scan, let's look at medical lab and biotech. This department falls behind giants like NTU, NCKU, and TMU, but it comfortably matches CMU and Kaohsiung. Meanwhile, medical imaging is a very stable performer for CSMU, successfully beating out CMU and matching Kaohsiung. So overall, these tech departments are effectively holding the line. Section 4, basic medicine, nursing, and public health. Now we get to the foundational and care-based departments, and the data here reveals some critical warning signs. Psychology is stable, basically tying with Kaohsiung Med. Biomedical sciences is hanging in there, just slightly lagging behind Chungyuan and Chenggang, but again, we have to look at the hard facts. Nursing has suffered a severe rank drop, and public health is lagging significantly behind peer institutions like TMU and CMU. And the why here is pretty clear. The severe nursing shortage and the intense high-pressure healthcare environments are constantly in the news right now. This is drastically affecting students' willingness to apply to these specific care-based fields, and CSMU is feeling that heavy impact. Moving right along to Section 5, Management and Applied Fields, the Periphery. This is our final system check, and this is where we see a severe identity crisis. We're looking at peripheral departments that are currently being marginalized. Management-focused fields like medical information and health industry management, along with occupational safety, are just being pushed to the back of the pack nationally. Even specialized sciences like nutrition, optometry, and medical applied chemistry are struggling to maintain traction. And when you look at applied foreign languages, well, despite its medical niche, it simply cannot compete for students against established language programs at general universities like Tamkang or Sucha. Which brings us to Section 6, Macro Variables, the External Pathology. So we've identified the symptoms across the board. Now we have to pivot to the why. What exact macro-environmental factors and policies are causing these shifts in the data? It all starts with policy. Back in 2022, the rollout of a new curriculum and cross-testing caused massive confusion. High-scoring students got nervous and played it safe, conservatively downfilling their choices. This initially made mid-tier schools harder to get into. But as the dust settled, those students flocked back to the top universities, leaving CSMU's medicine department totally exposed. However, in 2024, the government rolled out a private school tuition subsidy of 35,000 NT dollars. This was quite literally a lifeline. It helped stop the bleeding for CSMU's lower tier and peripheral departments by closing that cost gap with local public universities. Then there's the geographic squeeze. CSMU is based in Taichung. The data clearly shows northern students are increasingly reluctant to travel south. That means CSMU is bleeding potential students to northern rivals like Taipei Medical University and Changgang. At the exact same time, they are fighting a fierce, brutal local turf war in central Taiwan against China Medical University, which recently upgraded to a massive, state-of-the-art Shuinan campus. CSMU was caught right in the middle of this geographic squeeze. Finally, we have to factor in the small denominator effect. For departments where the popularity index is already very small, say around 0.0003, a tiny fractional drop of 0.0001 translates into a massive plunge in national rankings. Think of it like dropping a tiny pebble into a very small puddle. It causes a disproportionately huge splash. This statistical quirk explains the drastic, hypersensitive national rank fluctuations we are seeing in departments like nursing and occupational therapy. And that leads us to our final section, Conclusion, Prognosis and Strategy. Based on all the data across the 30 benchmark schools we've discussed, CSMU is entering a phase where its historical advantages are shrinking and its systemic weaknesses are being magnified. But there is a clear strategic path forward here. First, they absolutely must double down on leveraging their Taichung location and maximize the value of their affiliated hospital internships to lock in local talent. Second, and this is the big one, those struggling peripheral departments, like optometry, nutrition, and health industry management, have to pivot. To survive, they need to deeply integrate medical informatics and transition into smart healthcare curriculums to remain relevant in a rapidly digitizing medical future. Which leaves us with this final burning question. The university admissions landscape is ruthless and incredibly dynamic. Will CSMU successfully pivot its lagging departments to embrace this new reality? Or will the gap between its booming dentistry program and its struggling medicine department just continue to widen? It's a critical juncture for them, and the data will be waiting right here to tell us the answer next year. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.